Hey guys, so there was a discussion on the internet today about transposing. For those who watch my organ videos, hopefully you know that I never transpose. I play organ. There is no transpose button. And at one of the churches I play at, I have a Fender Rhodes. There's no transpose button on that either. And I don't allow any of the musicians that work with me to transpose. I'm adamantly against it. You'll never become a better musician if you transpose for two reasons. One is that you'll never learn to play fluently in all your keys. And I will happily admit, well maybe not happily, but I'll definitely admit that I'm not as good in all of my keys. A for me is the hardest for some reason. I hate playing in A. And I'll definitely, if somebody's singing in A, I might try to, push them to B flat. And you might have seen that in some of my church videos, but, in any case, it's definitely, if I really wanted to be better as a musician, I would force myself to play in A all the time, and then I'd get just as good in A as other keys. The other reason why you should never transpose is because it's harmful to your ear. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Cassandra O'Neill, who has perfect pitch. A lot of musicians have perfect pitch, not all of us do. I have perfect relative pitch. I was talking to my friend Cassandra, who said that she used transpose once, and it was just horrible because in her mind, she's hearing what she's supposed to be hearing, and then she's playing, and it's coming out differently, and because she has perfect pitch, it was just painful for her. And even though I only have perfect relative pitch, which is not quite the same thing, I can relate to that. On the few occasions when I have used transpose on a keyboard, it just throws me off completely because I'm playing, and then what I'm hearing come out is not the same thing as I'm playing. Anyhow, so the discussion that it was a subtangent from the discussion on transposing, which the consensus is don't do it. But the sub-discussion was, is a capo for guitar players transposing? And I'm going to explain why it's not. So I have my trusty Ovation Acoustic. For those who haven't seen my videos before, I tune down a half step to E flat. And the reason I do that is because most gospel music is in flat keys, and the intonation of the guitar changes if you're playing in E versus E flat or A versus A flat or whatever. So the result is, playing in flat keys, I get better intonation. So this is an E flat. So here's G7th capo. By the way, I highly recommend this capo because it works for both acoustic and electric guitars. It's self-tensioning, so you don't have to worry about it being too tight or too loose, which also throws your intonation off. And I always keep one in my pedal board bag on the rare occasions when I need to use it. So I'm going to play just an E flat chord, or it's an E chord if you tune regular tuning. And I'm going to take the capo and put the capo on the first fret. Play the exact same chord. Did not change it at all. I'm going to take the capo and move it up. Take the capo and move it up one more. It did not change my chord at all. And the reason is that because my chord doesn't have any open strings, it didn't affect anything. So the same thing, I'll play just a scale. That's not the scale. Okay, we'll edit that in post. Why can't I play a scale on command? Okay, so then we'll take the same thing with the capo. Try to make sure you can see it on the first fret and play the same thing. Okay, with the capo on the second fret and play the same thing. You get the idea. The capo doesn't actually change any of your fingering. You play it, it comes out exactly the same. So anybody that's using a capo to change the key of stuff that they're fingering is using it wrong. Because if I'm playing, the capo should not make any difference. And if I want to play that in a different key, If I want to play it in a different key, I just play it a fret up. And the capo is completely unnecessary for that. Taking it off, I'm not sure what you can see. Let me move the, there we go. What key did I do before? Yeah, I think I moved it up. So it makes no difference. The only time the capo serves any real purpose is if you're playing open chords. So here's an example of an open chord that I like to use. So those are the notes that I'm actually fingering, and then the open strings are the open E. So let's say I want to play a song that uses that chord. I might play Lord You Are Good. Okay? I can't just move my fingers a fret up because these strings will still be E flat. So if I try to do it up here in E, so what I need to do is, there's no way I can finger up here and up here. No one in the world has hands that big. So that's where your capo comes in. Now I can play, but you'll notice I had to change my fingering up here. It's not like if I were to transpose and I would keep playing in the same place. Here, I'll show you. I'll keep my fingering the same and add the capo. So here's, okay. So I'm going to add the capo and I'm going to keep my fingering the same. So it doesn't work because in order to utilize the capo, I have to also change my fingering. I have to change what I'm playing. So, unlike on a keyboard where you just push the button, you keep playing the same thing. On a guitar, you have to both change what you're playing and change the open strings if you want to play open strings in a different key. So, the only reason I will use this is like another song that uses open strings. Right? So if they want to do that in E, and I'm tuned down to E flat, again, I could. Then I lose all those nice open strings. It's not that it can't physically be done, but it doesn't have the open string sound. So then I'll add the capo, and now I have the advantage of the open strings. But I still have to change my fingering. If I don't move my fingering, if I try to play my old fingering, it serves no purpose. So all it's doing is it's altering the open strings, and then you have to change your fingering and still play in a different key. So if you keep playing in the same key and add the capo, it's going to sound like mess. So you have to still play in a different key. So for me to play in the all those songs in E, I have to finger them. That sounded kind of dirty. In E, the capo isn't churning my fingering from E flat to E. The capo is only modifying the open strings. So hope that clears that up. Again, say no to transposing. Transposing is wrong. No one should do it for any instrument. You only need a capo if you're playing open chords. Any guitar player that's using a capo for something other than open chords either doesn't know how to use a capo, or they're doing some sort of weird alternate tuning. There's a famous blues guitar player named Albert Collins, who's one of my all-time favorites, who would use a capo somewhere high up on the guitar, and then he tuned it, I think, to an open F chord. He used some real random tuning, and then used the capo. But it wasn't standard tuning, and he couldn't play standard stuff. It was his unique way of playing the blues, and he probably could not have played any other genre fluently with that tuning. So yeah, if you see this, it's for open chords, and if you see anybody using it for something other than open chords, they're not using it right. Okay, hope that clears it up. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.